I've always been curious about what it's like to have your mother genuinely adore you. Don't get me wrong, my mother took care of my physical needs and ensured that I did well in school, but she only showed me emotional support when it came to my younger sister, Rachel. On paper, our family appeared to be ideal. Mom ran our lovely suburban house. Dad was a senior executive at a consulting business, and Rachel and I went to the district's top private school. However, it was far more intricate than it initially appeared. Mom would peek at my report card and say, "Olivia, your math test results are excellent," before focusing on Rachel's most recent finger painting. "Oh, sweetie, look at these colors. You're such a talented artist." I vividly recall how Grandma would spend hours in Rachel's room, listening to her practice singing or helping her organize her painting supplies. My accomplishments, such as my straight A's, debate team wins, and science fair gold, were just given a sidelong glance. Dad was unique. We hardly ever saw James Preston because of his many business travels and late hours at the workplace, even though he loved both of his daughters equally. He would strive to make up time while he was at home. I would pore over my schoolwork, and Dad would ruffle my hair and remark, "How's my little lawyer doing?" He would shout to Rachel, "And where's my future Broadway star?" However, these times were brief, like sporadic photos in a blank album. Dad's dad, Grandpa William, was the only one who really saw me. The lovely Victorian home where he and my grandmother, Helen, resided was always filled with the scent of old books and pipe tobacco. He would come often when I was younger, before things changed. He would say to me, "You're special, Olivia, with sparkling blue eyes. Twice as sharp and as smart as a whip. Don't allow someone to make you less bright." But then that day arrived. When I heard the argument that would alter everything, I must have been around 7 years old. In the kitchen, Mom and Grandpa's words cut through the background noise of the house. Grandpa had replied, "You can't keep this up forever, Catherine," in a voice that was often kind but now harsh as steel. Mom had screamed back, "Stay out of my personal life. You have no right to interfere." At the time, I had no idea why they were arguing. Grandpa ceased visiting our home completely shortly after Grandma Helen died of a heart attack. I heard Mom talking to her friend Sandra on the phone one evening. Her voice was brimming with contempt as she exclaimed, "Thank God that haughty old man finally got the message. I'm completely done with his meddling." Mom's reaction to my inquiry about seeing Grandpa was harsh and prompt. "Olivia, there will be severe repercussions if I ever learn that you have seen him. Do you get it?" I nodded while choking back tears, since I couldn't understand why my mother would exclude me from the one person who appeared to genuinely get me. However, because I was young, I was kept in line, at least temporarily, by my fear of my mother's wrath. Gradually, the years went by until I became 16, at which point I managed to get back in touch with Grandpa William. A few blocks from his house, at the Morning Brew, a little cafe, I found work as a waitress. Convincing my parents that I was working additional hours wasn't difficult. In any case, Dad was too preoccupied with his job to notice, and Mom seldom ever looked at my schedule. I would remark nonchalantly over breakfast, "I'll be home late today. Jenny called in sick, so I'm covering her shift." Mom would dismissively wave her hand. "Be sure to maintain your good grades. Your education shouldn't be hampered by this employment." However, I would sneak away to Grandpa's Victorian home rather than working those extra shifts. My heart felt like it may explode as I knocked on his door for the first time. "Olivia," he said, his eyes widening in shock before welling with tears. "Look at you, my God. You've grown up completely." Innumerable other afternoons followed. He would share cookies he had purchased, especially for my visits, as we sat in his study, and he would tell me stories about his early years, his father's early years, and his global trips. He occasionally gave me tiny presents, like a fountain pen, a dainty bracelet, or an old book. "This was your grandmother's," he stated one day as he placed a silver locket in my hand. "She would have wanted you to have it." It was during these trips that we never mentioned Mom or Rachel. His countenance would darken, and he would immediately shift the topic if I brought them up. I discovered how to avoid bringing them up. Everything changed when I was accepted to State University at the age of 18. I finally had the independence I had always desired after moving into the dorm. I made the decision to come out of hiding during my first week of college. During a weekend trip home, I said, "Mom, I've been seeing Grandpa on a regular basis, and I'm going to keep doing so. Now that I'm an adult, I can choose the people I want in my life." Mom became furious and her cheeks flushed. "After everything I've told you about staying away from him, how dare you go behind my back?" "Catherine," Dad said, appearing worn out yet resolute, "Olivia is correct. William is my father, and she is now an adult. She has the freedom to choose whether or not to date him." I felt lighter than I had in a long time, but Mom bounded out of the room. I could finally see Grandpa without the burden of concealment. Over the next year, our bond only got stronger. We would speak about everything and nothing for hours when I would go see him in between semesters. In addition to being my grandfather, he also became my closest confidant and buddy. That's why his death hit me so hard. It happened suddenly, a massive heart attack while he was working in his garden. One moment he was there, vital and full of life, and the next gone. I got the call during my morning lecture, and my world stopped spinning. I remember running out of the classroom, barely able to breathe, barely able to think. All those years of secret visits, of stolen moments, of finally being able to love him openly. And now he was gone. The lawyer's office felt suffocating as we all gathered for the reading of Grandpa's will. Mr. Harrison, a silver-haired man who had been Grandpa's attorney for decades, sat behind his mahogany desk, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses as he prepared to read the document. Dad sat rigid in his chair, his face a mask of grief. Rachel fidgeted nervously beside Mom, who kept shooting me suspicious glances. I stared at my hands, trying to hold myself together. "Shall we?" began Mr. Harrison, clearing his throat and starting to read. I wasn't prepared for what came next. None of us were. I, William Preston, being of sound mind, hereby bequeath all my property and assets to my granddaughter Olivia Preston. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked up to see everyone staring at me. The inheritance included the Victorian house, his investments, savings, everything. Nearly $1.5 million in total. Dad's face showed surprise, but he remained quiet. Rachel's eyes were wide, but she too said nothing. It was Mom who exploded. "This is absolutely outrageous." She shot up from her chair, her face contorted with rage. How dare he leave everything to her? What about Rachel? What about Jenny? This is completely unfair. "Catherine, please," Dad tried to calm her, but she was beyond reason. "No," she whirled to face me. "You have to share this with your sister. Half of it should go to Rachel. It's only fair. You can't possibly keep all of this for yourself." I sat there, overwhelmed. Of course I cared about Rachel, but this was Grandpa's decision. His last wish. "Mom, I don't." "Mommy," she snarled, "you manipulated him, didn't you? All those secret visits over the years. You turned him against us." "Mrs. Preston," Mr. Harrison intervened. "The will is legally binding. Your father-in-law was very clear about his wishes." The rest of the meeting passed in a blur of legal terms and paperwork. Mom continued to fume, while Dad and Rachel remained silent. though I could see the hurt in their eyes. The next morning, I returned to Mr. Harrison's office alone. I needed to understand more about the will, about possible ways to handle this situation that wouldn't tear my family apart. Miss Preston, Mr. Harrison said, studying me carefully over his glasses. There's something else you need to know. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a small brass key. Your grandfather left this for you. It opens the safe in his office. He was very specific about this. He said you'll find answers to all your questions there. I drove to Grandpa's house in a daze, the key feeling impossibly heavy in my pocket. The Victorian house stood silent and empty, dust motes dancing in the afternoon sunlight that streamed through the windows. My footsteps echoed on the hardwood floors. As I made my way to his office, the safe was hidden behind a painting of the sea. I'd always admired it during our talks, never knowing what secrets lurked behind it. My hand shook as I inserted the key into the lock. Inside, I found 2 items: a letter addressed to me in Grandpa's familiar handwriting and a thick manila envelope. My dearest Olivia, the letter began. I sank into his leather chair, the paper trembling in my hands. If you're reading this, then I'm no longer here to tell you this in person, something I've wrestled with for years. What I'm about to share will be difficult to read, but you deserve to know the truth about our family. I continued reading, each word hitting me like a physical blow. Grandpa explained how he'd hired a private investigator years ago, driven by suspicions he couldn't ignore, suspicions about Rachel's paternity. The evidence was undeniable. He wrote your mother had been having an affair for years with a man named Michael Pearson. But the true shock came when I discovered that Rachel was born from this relationship. My hands were trembling so badly now that I had to put the letter down for a moment. I opened the manila envelope, and dozens of photographs spilled out. There was my mother, years younger, in intimate embraces with a tall, dark-haired man I'd never seen before. Along with the photos were DNA test results, one for me, one for Rachel. The clinical language spelled out what Grandpa had already revealed. I was James Preston's daughter, but Rachel was not his child. The truth hit me like a tidal wave. All those years of coldness, of distance, of obvious favoritism, suddenly, everything made horrible sense. Mom couldn't love me because I was the daughter of a man she didn't love. Rachel was her precious child because she was born from her affair with the man she did love. Memories flooded back. Mom's constant criticism of me, her endless praise of Rachel, the way she'd light up when Rachel entered a room while barely acknowledging my presence. It wasn't just favoritism, it was the physical reminder of 2 very different loves. As I continued reading Grandpa's letter, the full scope of our family tragedy unfolded before my eyes. The argument I'd witnessed as a child suddenly made painful sense. Your mother blackmailed me that day, Grandpa wrote. She said that if I told James about her affair and Rachel's true parentage, it would destroy him. She begged me to keep quiet, saying she'd ended the relationship with Michael and wanted to preserve her marriage. My hand trembled as I read about how Grandpa had decided to remain silent, not for my mother's sake, but to protect his son and grandchildren from a truth that would shatter their world. But the weight of this secret had claimed another victim, your grandmother, Helen. The letter continued, had always been sensitive to family matters, and her heart condition made her vulnerable. When she discovered Catherine's betrayal, the shock was too much for her. She died of a heart attack that same night. This is something I could never forgive your mother for. Tears blurred my vision as I read about Grandma's death. I remembered her warm smile, her gentle hands, the way she'd brush my hair while humming old lullabies. Her death had always seemed sudden, but now I understood the tragic truth behind it. My dearest Olivia, Grandpa's letter went on, I'm leaving you my entire fortune, not only because I love you deeply, but because you are truly my own blood. You are James's daughter, a true Preston, and I know you will handle this inheritance with wisdom and grace. However, I want you to know that you have complete freedom to share this money as you see fit. My only wish is that you use this truth to bring justice to our family in whatever way you deem right. The letter ended with a final apology for burdening me with such a heavy truth, but I knew there was no turning back now. After a sleepless night spent processing everything I had learned, I made my decision. The following Saturday, I drove to my parents' house, the envelope of evidence tucked securely in my bag. Mom answered the door with her usual cold demeanor, but this time it didn't hurt like it used to. Now I understood why she'd never been able to love me properly. "We need to talk," I said firmly, following her into the living room where I'd spent so many years trying to win her approval. "There's nothing to talk about," she snapped. "You need to share the inheritance with Rachel, or I'll take legal action. You can't keep all of it for yourself." I took a deep breath. I know everything, Mom. About Rachel's real father, about your affair with Michael Pearson, about how Grandma died. The color drained from her face, but she quickly recovered. "What ridiculous nonsense are you talking about?" "Grandpa hired a private investigator," I continued, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I have the photos, the DNA tests, everything. Everything. And I'm willing to share the inheritance with Rachel, but on one condition. You need to tell Dad and Rachel the truth." Mom's face contorted with rage. "How dare you try to blackmail me? Do you think I'd risk losing my marriage and my relationship with Rachel just because you're threatening me? Go ahead, try to destroy me. I'll make sure everyone knows what a greedy, manipulative person you really are. Nobody will believe you anyway. They'll believe the DNA test," I said quietly. "Get out of my house." She screamed, and don't think for a moment that I won't fight back. "I'll destroy your reputation before you can destroy my life." That evening, as I sat in my dorm room trying to process our confrontation, my phone started buzzing with notifications. When I opened Facebook, my heart dropped. Mom had posted a lengthy status update about me, and it was already gathering attention. "I never thought I'd have to write this," her post began. "But I need to warn everyone about the cruel and manipulative behavior of my own daughter. Olivia has shown her true colors by turning my father-in-law against our entire family in his final years, manipulating him into leaving her everything in his will. She's refusing to share anything with her innocent sister, showing just how greedy and heartless she's become." The post went on, painting me as a master manipulator who had somehow brainwashed Grandpa. She secretly visited him for years, poisoning his mind against us, all for money. Now she's trying to tear our family apart with ridiculous accusations and lies. This is not the daughter we raised. My hands shook. As I scrolled through the comments, "Aunt Sarah, I always knew there was something off about that girl. Uncle Robert, disgusting behavior. You and James raised her better than this. My cousin Jennifer, money really does show people's true colors." Even my mother's best friend, Sandra, chimed in. "She's always been a difficult child, Catherine. Now everyone can see what you've had to deal with." The shares kept multiplying. Relatives I hadn't seen in years were weighing in, each comment more vicious than the last. "Mercenary, selfish, money-grubbing. She should be ashamed." Family friends I'd known since childhood were suddenly experts on my character, all agreeing that I was a manipulative gold digger who had somehow managed to trick a sharp-minded man like Grandpa William. I closed my laptop and lay back on my bed, staring at the ceiling. Mom thought she was destroying me with this public shaming, but all she'd done was make my decision easier. After 3 days of careful planning, I picked up my phone and called home. Mom answered on the second ring. "What do you want?" Her voice was cold. "I've been thinking," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Maybe you're right. Maybe we need to talk this through as a family. I'd like to come home for dinner, try to make peace, just the four of us. How about this Saturday? I'll come early and help you cook." "Saturday works," she said, her voice notably warmer. "I'll make your favorite lasagna." "Perfect," I said, allowing a small smile to play across my lips. I'm looking forward to clearing everything up. After hanging up, I walked to my desk and opened Grandpa's envelope. Everything I needed was right here. Mom thought she'd won this round with her social media attack, but she had no idea what was coming. Saturday's dinner would change everything, and this time I would be the one in control of the narrative. Saturday evening arrived with heavy tension in the air, though I was the only one who knew what was coming. Mom had indeed made lasagna, and the familiar scent filled our dining room with an almost cruel sense of normalcy. We sat around the table. Dad at the head, Mom to his right, Rachel beside her, and me across from them. "Before we eat," I said, setting down my fork, "I'd like to say something." Mom's smile was triumphant as she reached for her wine glass. "Of course, dear." "I've done a lot of thinking," I began, watching her carefully. "About family, about fairness, about what Grandpa would have wanted." I paused, noting how Mom's smile widened. "I've decided that the inheritance should be split equally between Rachel and me." "Oh, Olivia," Mom exclaimed, practically glowing with satisfaction. "I'm so proud of you for making the right decision. I knew you'd eventually see reason and do the honorable thing." Rachel gave me a tentative smile, while Dad nodded approvingly. "You know," Mom continued, clearly unable to resist the moment, "this shows real maturity. I'm glad you finally felt ashamed of your earlier behavior and came to your senses." I let her words hang in the air for a moment, a slight smile playing on my lips. Her victory speech made what was coming next even more poetic. "Actually," I said softly, "there's something else everyone needs to hear." I reached into my bag and pulled out Grandpa's letter. "There's a reason Grandpa left everything to me, and it's time you all knew what it was." Mom's face went pale. "Olivia, don't." But I was already reading. "My dearest Olivia, what I'm about to share will be difficult to hear, but you deserve to know the truth about our family. As I read about the private investigator, about Michael Pearson, about the affair, I glanced up occasionally." Mom's eyes were fixed on the tablecloth, her face alternating between ghostly white and burning red. Dad's expression changed from confusion to shock to rage. Rachel's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. "The DNA tests confirmed everything," I continued, my voice steady. "Rachel is not James's daughter, but the child of your mother's lover." "This is absurd," Mom tried to interject, but her voice quavered. "I have proof," I said, pulling out the envelope with photos of her and Michael Pearson, along with DNA test results. Dad snatched the envelope from my hands, his fingers shaking as he pulled out the contents. The photos spilled across the table. Mom in the arms of a dark-haired man, kissing him, walking with him. Dozens of stolen moments captured by the investigator's camera. The DNA results followed, their clinical language confirming everything. "How could you?" Dad's voice was barely controlled. Fury, all these years, all these lies. "I can explain," Mom sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. "James, please, it wasn't what you think." I was young. I was confused. Confused. Dad roared, standing up so quickly his chair crashed to the floor. "You had an affair, got pregnant, passed another man's child off as mine, and you call that confused." Rachel pushed away from the table and ran upstairs. Mom tried to follow her, but Dad blocked her path. "Don't you dare," he growled. "Don't you dare run after her now. You've done enough damage." Mom remained standing by the table, sobbing and begging for forgiveness. The months following that fateful dinner were a blur of legal meetings and family upheaval. Dad filed for divorce almost immediately, his lawyer citing years of deception as grounds for claiming the majority of their shared assets. Rachel and I met at a quiet cafe a week after the revelation. She hadn't stopped crying since that night. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she whispered, staring into her untouched coffee. "You're my sister," I said firmly, reaching across the table to take her hand. "Maybe not by blood, but by heart. That's never going to change." We spent hours talking that day. I showed her Grandpa's letter again, explaining everything in detail. How he discovered the truth, how it had affected Grandma, why he'd kept silent all these years. "I want you to have half the inheritance," I told her. "Grandpa left that decision to me, and you're my sister regardless of DNA." Rachel burst into fresh tears, but this time with a smile. True to my word, I split the inheritance equally with Rachel. We used some of the money to help Dad start over. He'd moved into a small apartment and needed to rebuild his life from scratch. After the truth was revealed, the social media tempest drastically changed direction. All of those family members who had been eager to criticize me suddenly stopped talking and began apologizing. Aunt Sarah wrote, "Olivia, I'm so sorry for what I said. I was unaware of your mother's actions. Without knowing the whole facts, we ought to have known better than to pass judgment. You demonstrated incredible fortitude and dignity throughout this entire ordeal," Uncle Robert wrote. "I defended Catherine for years, never knowing the pain she caused you," said Sandra, Mom's best friend. "I sincerely hope you would pardon my harsh remarks." Occasionally, during calm times, I question whether I made the correct decision. Was splitting up our family worth it? Was Rachel suffering the breakdown of my parents' marriage and the public scandal worth seeking retribution for? However, I also recall the years of emotional neglect, the way Mom manipulated everyone around her, and the hurt that her decades of dishonesty caused Dad. Grandma Helen comes to mind. She passed away because the reality was too painful. For years, Grandpa carried this weight alone, striving to keep everyone safe till the very end, as I recall. No, I wasn't seeking retribution. For the sake of justice, I did it for Dad, who should have known the truth about his marriage. For Rachel, who should have known who she really was. For Grandma, whose passing should have been acknowledged. And for Grandpa, who trusted me to make things right. I haven't talked to Mom since that night, although she still lives in the town. I occasionally come across her social media posts. Few people now believe her when she tells a new story about being the victim of a spiteful family. Even if a lie is well crafted, the truth has a way of holding its own. Through all of this, Dad, Rachel, and I have become closer. We assist one another as we continue to heal by getting together for weeks. I've always been curious about what it's like to have your mother genuinely adore you. Don't get me wrong, my mother took care of my physical needs and ensured that I did well in school, but she—
"Daisy, you're too late again. I'm starving. Get dinner ready." The voice echoed from the living room. I took a deep breath, my hands tightening around the kitchen counter. As I tried to steady myself, my mother-in-law was lying on the couch, her arms spread wide like she owned the place. The living room was a mess, cushions thrown on the floor, blankets tangled up, and the coffee table cluttered with empty cups. It looked like a storm had swept through, but the real storm was sitting right there, glaring at me. That was the moment I realized I had reached my limit. I'm Daisy, a career-driven woman with a husband, David, who shares the same passion for work. We met at the office, quickly bonded over our love for what we do, and soon enough, we were married. David and I had agreed early on that children weren't part of our plans. We wanted to focus on building our careers, achieving our dreams, and growing together as a team. We believed in equal partnership. The housework was shared, and we supported each other in everything we did. Our life was smooth. Even though work kept us busy, we always made time for each other. Weekends were our time to relax, talk about our week, and plan for the future. But there was one aspect of our marriage that filled me with dread. Every year, the annual vacation with David's parents. I had no problem with his father. In fact, he was a kind man, respectful of our choices, and always supportive. But his mother, she was a different story. From the moment David and I decided not to have children, she saw me as the enemy. It was as if my decision had personally offended her, and she never missed a chance to remind me. It all came to a head during one of our family meetings. David had just explained to his parents that we wouldn't be having kids and that our focus would remain on our careers. His father nodded, understanding that times had changed and that people made different choices. But his mother, she was livid. "How could you marry a woman who doesn't want children?" she shrieked, her face turning red with fury. "I've been looking forward to grandchildren. What kind of woman focuses on her job instead of raising a family?" I sat there stunned as David tried to defend me. "Mom, Daisy and I have discussed this at length. We're happy with our decision." But she wasn't having any of it. Women are supposed to stay home and take care of the house. A career is nothing compared to raising a family. David's father finally stepped in. "That's enough. Daisy has a promising career, and it's her choice. Times are different now." His words only fueled her anger, and the argument spiraled out of control. David had to physically step between them to prevent it from getting worse. After that day, my relationship with my mother-in-law was never the same. Every family gathering was tense, but the annual vacation was the worst. We went because David believed in maintaining family connections, and I wanted to respect that. But every year, I found myself dreading it more and more. And this year was shaping up to be the worst one yet. The day of the trip started off on a sour note. When we arrived at the hotel, something was wrong with our reservation. David and I had booked a room together, but when we went to check in, we were informed that my name was missing from the reservation. Only David's name was on the booking, and it was for a single room. I turned to David, confused. "This must be a mistake," I said, trying to stay calm. But before we could ask for clarification, my mother-in-law chimed in, her voice dripping with malice. "Oh, there's no mistake." "I canceled your reservation, Daisy." My heart dropped. "What? You're not family, Daisy. This is a family vacation, and you don't belong here," she said, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. I felt a surge of anger rise in my chest, but I swallowed it down. "Fine," I said, my voice trembling. "If I'm not family, then I'll leave." I turned to walk away, but David grabbed my hand. "No, you're not going anywhere," he said firmly. "If you leave, I'm leaving too." His words seemed to catch his mother off guard. "What? No, you can't leave. This trip was planned for all of us," she exclaimed. David shook his head. "Not if you're going to treat Daisy like this. I won't stand for it." Even David's father, who had been quiet up until this point, stood up. "I'm leaving too," he said, much to his wife's shock. "I can't enjoy this trip with all this negativity." For a moment, she was speechless. I almost felt sorry for her, but then her face twisted into anger. "Fine, go. I don't need any of you," she shouted, storming off in the other direction. As we walked away, I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. I was done with her. I wasn't going to let her ruin any more of my life. The flight home was unexpectedly peaceful. David, his father, and I sat together, laughing and enjoying each other's company. It was the first time in a long time that I felt at ease. But the peace didn't last long. A few days after we returned, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find my mother-in-law standing there, bags in hand. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my heart sinking. "I'm staying here for a while," she announced, brushing past me and setting her bags down in the living room. I stood there, frozen in shock. "What?" I muttered. "I've left your father-in-law. I can't live with him anymore," she said, flopping down onto the couch as if she had every right to be there. I quickly called David at work, trying to keep my voice steady. "You won't believe this," I said. "Your mother just showed up at the house. She's moved in." "What?" David sounded just as shocked as I felt. "I'll call my dad and see what's going on." But when he tried to reach his father, there was no answer. We were stuck with her for days. She took over the house, making snide comments about how I ran things. "This place is a mess because you work too much," she'd mutter, her eyes scanning the room as if she were judging every corner. I tried to ignore her, focusing on my own work and going about my day, but it was impossible to ignore the constant tension in the air. David came home early one day, hoping to convince her to leave, but she refused. "I'm not going anywhere," she said defiantly. "This is my son's house, and I have every right to be here." We were stuck. She wasn't going to leave, and David's father was still unreachable. Then, one evening, I came home to find the house in shambles. Drawers had been pulled out, their contents strewn across the floor. My mother-in-law was lounging on the couch, watching TV like nothing was wrong. "What happened here?" I asked, my voice rising with frustration. "Oh, I was hungry and looking for something to eat," she said nonchalantly, as if that explained the chaos. "That doesn't explain why the drawers are emptied out," I exclaimed, my patience wearing thin. She just shrugged. "You didn't prepare lunch, so I had to look for something myself." That's when I noticed something else was missing, my credit card. My heart raced as I realized what had happened. I confronted her, but she denied everything, acting as if I was the one in the wrong. David came home to the mess and immediately started arguing with his mother. I pulled him aside and whispered, "This has gone too far. She's stolen my credit card." David sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're right. We can't let her get away with this." We decided to gather evidence quietly, documenting everything she did. A few days later, David finally got through to his father, who had been traveling and was unaware of everything that had happened. When David's father returned, we all sat down in the living room. My mother-in-law acted as if nothing was wrong, but her expression changed when her husband walked in. "What are you doing here?" she asked, clearly surprised to see him. "I came to give you this," he said, handing her a piece of paper. She unfolded it and gasped. "Divorce papers? What are you talking about?" "I've had enough of your behavior," he said calmly. "You've disrespected Daisy for too long, and I can't tolerate it anymore. I want a divorce." She stared at him in disbelief. "You can't be serious." But he was. He explained everything, from her actions on the trip to her behavior in our house. Finally, she stood up fuming. "Fine, I'll sign them, but I'm taking David with me." David crossed his arms. "No, Mom, I'm staying here with Daisy. Your behavior has gone too far." Her face twisted in anger as she grabbed a pen and scrawled her name on the papers. "You'll regret this," she snapped, shoving the papers back at him. As she turned to leave, I spoke up. "There's one more thing." I pulled out my laptop and opened a video I had taken of her shopping with my stolen credit card. Her eyes widened as I zoomed in on the card in her hand. "That's not yours, is it?" I asked. She stammered, trying to deny it, but it was too late. We had all the evidence we needed. "I'll be pressing charges," I said calmly. Her face drained of color as she realized the seriousness of the situation. She stormed out of the house without another word. In the end, we filed for damages, and my mother-in-law moved in with her estranged sister. David's father stayed with us, helping around the house and even offering advice on our careers. Life finally returned to normal, and the peace we had been longing for settled back into our home. The unwelcome visitor was gone for good.
My name is Thea, 34 years old. Mothers are supposed to love their children unconditionally. That's what I knew when I was young. It was a universal truth, and everyone talked about it like it was a fact. So when my mom, Carol, abandoned me and my brother Keith, we were pretty shattered. For years, we simply couldn't believe the fact that our mom left. It was just 4 days after our father died from cancer. Keith was 10 years old, and I was 9 when it happened. We watched our dad suffer and wither away from the deadly disease. In fact, we were the ones who saw him take his last breath. He kissed us on our heads and told us that he loved us. We were devastated. Naturally, we looked up to our mom for comfort. Unfortunately for us, she was not going to be there. After my father's funeral, we had all gathered for his will to be read. In the will, it was said that the house we lived in would go to me and Keith, but the 70,000 square foot of land that he had would be my mom's. Our mom heard this bit, gave a cheeky smile, and simply walked out of the room looking happy. We were all dumbstruck by her behavior. Since she left us at the funeral home, our Uncle Hudson dropped us at the house. As soon as the 3 of us walked in, we saw that Mum was packing her bags. I said, "Mom, why are you packing your bags? Are we going somewhere?" "No, dear. You are not going anywhere. I am the one who is leaving." "Mom, what are you saying? Going where? Why can't we come with you?" "Well, your father is dead, so there is no reason for me to stay around. I'm off to find a new husband." "Carol, what is wrong with you? Do you even know what you're saying? The kids are right here." "Oh, stop it, Hudson. I don't care if they listen. They need to know that I'm going to start a new life. They can't have any expectations of me anymore." "You can't just leave your kids, Carol. They need you." "Mom, don't leave us. What did we do wrong?" "Your mere existence is going to be a problem to me, dear. No one wants a woman with baggage. So before you become a burden to me, I am leaving." Keith and I were crying our eyes out. We were begging Mum to not leave us. We were prepared to do everything for her. However, Mum kept packing and calling us burdens. Hudson had enough of her cruel attitude. He sent us to our rooms and talked to her. However, even he couldn't stop her from leaving. She was gone within the next week, leaving us all alone with no means to look after ourselves. We just woke up in the morning and saw that she was gone. Hudson went over to the neighbor's house to tell them what had happened. He called Hudson, and he came over as soon as possible. He hugged us and said, "I am so sorry, kids. We tried everything to contact your mom. I think she changed her number, but don't worry. I will do my best to bring her back." "Did we do something wrong, Uncle?" "She said she left because of us. She said we are burdens to her. She also said she doesn't love us anymore." No, my child. It's not your fault. This is all on your mum. Don't ever blame yourselves for this." It was easy to say what Hudson said. Me and Keith were young, so Mum's words stayed with us. We kept blaming ourselves for the longest time. When it became clear that Mum had moved to a different country and had no intentions of coming back, Hudson became our guardian. He was a bachelor, but changed his lifestyle to accommodate us. He even sold his house and moved into Dad's house to look after us. Mum never came back. Hudson, after going to hell and heaven, was able to get Mum to terminate her rights. He adopted us and brought us up as his own. He even refused to get married because everyone he dated didn't want us in their new family. So, he chose to stay single for us. Hudson also took care of us out of his own pocket. Even after we turned 18, he didn't abandon us. He paid for our college and made sure we had all the things we needed. By the time we were teens, both Keith and I started to resent our mother. We remembered how mean she was to Dad when he was sick. We also remembered how she left us to fend for ourselves when Dad was in the hospital. It's not like she went to be with Dad. She was actually secretly cheating on him. We found her old laptop that had all the evidence of her affairs. We wanted nothing to do with her. Not that she contacted us ever again. It would be another 25 years before we finally saw her. By then, both I and Keith were married and well settled in life. One day, Hudson called us over to the house and asked to talk. He said, "I have some news for you, kids. Your mum is back in town." "What? Are you kidding me? How did you know? She called me and told me herself. She arrived yesterday. Apparently she was here to tie up some loose ends from her inheritance. Wait, what does that even mean? I think she's after the land that was promised in your dad's will. We couldn't believe our ears. Knowing that Mum was in the city was like a punch in the gut. Keith and I were angry and confused. Hudson continued to say, "It doesn't end there, kids. She said she wants to meet the two of you. I'm not surprised since she doesn't want anything to do with me. There is no way we will meet her. She doesn't get to make these demands after 25 years. I'm sure she wants something from us. Wait, still after the 70,000 land? Is she stupid?" "Yes to both questions, son. She still thinks that the land is hers. I was thinking perhaps it's time you guys see her. You'll get some closure and hopefully have some fun of your own." When Hudson said this, we were pretty confused. The mysterious glint in his eyes also didn't help things. That's when I got the perfect plan of revenge on my head. Hudson was right. We did need to meet Mum. So, I pleaded with Keith to stay back with me and meet her. He was hesitant, but couldn't say no to me. Hudson then called and informed Mum that she could meet us at the house. The next morning, everything was going on as usual. It was just like when the three of us lived together. I got up, made breakfast with Keith's help, and ate it with Hudson before he left for work. After Hudson was gone, our waiting game began. Not an hour passed before the doorbell rang. I guess someone was getting a little too impatient to receive her karma. We opened the door, and there stood our mother. Yes, dear mother came back after 25 freaking years. She looked aged but was dressed in fashionable clothes. See anything of the mama knew when I was young? I looked at Keith and could tell that he was having similar thoughts. Carol simply brushed us aside and walked into the house. We were in utter disbelief. She said, "Hello there, children. I'm sure you have heard that I was in the city. What the hell are you doing here? What's your turn, Keith? I'm your mother, and you won't talk to me like that. You have some nerves showing up after 25 years and trying to parent us. Well, newsflash, Mum, we are not children anymore and not bound to listen to you. I can see just how rude and obnoxious you have become. I heard Hudson took care of you too. No wonder you two turned out like this. Thank God my children back home are not like you. Well then, why don't you go back? I refuse to believe you are here to show us motherly affection. I do need some assistance. Once you two will stop being so dramatic, I will tell you what you need to do." Keith and I were both pissed and agitated. Seeing her here after 25 years was painful and irritating at the same time. Her mere presence was annoying the hell out of us. What made us even more angry is the fact that we knew she came for something. She sought us out because she needed something from us. "Just tell us, Mum. What do you want?" "Well, now's the time. You should show me some respect. It's been a while, and I haven't had a good tour of the city. How do you think that concerns us? By all means, Carol, go take it all. No one is stopping you here. You're our mother. I deserve respect. It's your duty as my children to take care of my needs. You two ungrateful children have learned nothing. You don't deserve to be called our mum. You lost that right 25 years ago. Just because you gave birth to us doesn't mean you deserve the title. Also, we are not obliged to take care of your needs. Why don't you get your new family to help? This is the least they can do since you were so busy playing mother to them for 25 years. They are busy, and I don't want to disturb them. Now quickly, take me to my land. It has been waiting for me for 25 years. It's time I finally sell it and buy my stepchildren their dream houses." "Oh, so that's why you came back after all. Great. Then let's take you to see your land. I must say you will be very surprised. The price of the land has skyrocketed. I can do so much with the money, thank God. I didn't listen to your dead father and sold it back then. Thank God, right, Carol? You're right. You know, since you didn't sell this land back then, it did bring in a lot of money. I always know the best. Now shut up and take me there. I simply can't wait." Me and Keith looked at each other. I could tell that he didn't want to take Carol anywhere. However, I had the perfect plan in mind, so I told Keith, "Let's take her to the land since she flew back a long way. This is the least we can do for her." You serious right now? You want us to take Carol to the land? Yeah, don't you think it's time for her to see it? I mean, I'm sure she had been dreaming about selling the land and taking the money. That's when it hit Keith in the head. He understood why I wanted to drive Mum there. He was starting to have a mischievous look on his face. So after pretending to think for a while, he said, "All right then, come on, Carol. We will drive you there. You really must be excited to see the place after so many years." That's what a good child would say. Hurry up and drive me there. I have very little time on my hands. I need to return home after finalizing everything. Of course, Mum, let's go. We can't wait to take you to Dad's land. So the three of us buckled in and drove to the land. Mum was super happy and talked excitedly throughout the entire drive. We could tell that she couldn't wait to sell the land. We drove for about 30 minutes and reached the place. It was the land with a huge office building on it. As we stepped out of the car, Carol stared at us and looked confused. She said, "Why have you brought me here? What is this place? I want to see my land and not loiter around in some office complex." "Well, this is the land, Mom. Check the GPS and you will know this is exactly the place." "That's impossible. Who gave these people permission to build a building on my land? This is illegal." "Actually, we are the ones who gave them permission. Unfortunately for you, this land no longer belongs to you." No, this is not true. I am the owner of this land. You two cheated me and made profits on it. I will sue you." "We didn't cheat anyone, Mum. You are the one who decided to betray us. Dad left you this land so you could sell it and look after us. Instead, you abandoned us and made a new family with a rich man. All this while, you thought you could cheat us out of our rightful share. Thankfully, Dad always foresaw your schemes and added a secret clause in his will." "What do you mean?" "The will had a hidden clause that said if you abandoned us or didn't use the proceeds of the land for our care, you would be disinherited. You actually had a year to prove to the attorney that you were using the money on us. Well, we all know that never happened. Good for us. Dad thought so far ahead we were safe from being impoverished for life." "Yes, Mom always thought she was smart, but my father outsmarted her in the end. She didn't know about the hidden clause since she didn't bother to stay back. So now, on her precious land stands an office building that we made and rented out. Me, Keith, and Hudson are getting a handsome income out of it. Mom didn't understand what happened, so I said, Hudson took us in and raised us as his own. When we became 21, he helped us arrange the money to build this office complex. Now, we both earn plenty of money from this land, so we are glad you messed up and left everything to us. Don't worry, Mum, me, Thea, and Hudson are making some big money out of this place. It all worked out for us in the end. As for you, well, let's just say you missed your chance." Carol heard this and collapsed on the floor. She kept looking like a frightened woman and almost started to shake. She kept calling us traitors among other cuss words. That's when my uncle showed up. We had texted him about the whole ordeal and told him to meet us there with the inheritance papers. He walked up to us and said, "There is no need to call them names, Carol. If there is someone who deserves to be cussed out, it's actually you." "Little traitors. I know this is all your plan, Hudson. You never liked me in the past, so you took away my inheritance." "Nope, Carol, that is not right at all. First of all, I still dislike you very much and will continue to do so. Secondly, no one cheated you out of your inheritance. You were foolish enough to start running once the will said you would get the land." "Yes, the will said I would get the land. See, children, you have no right to use this land. I'll sue you. Now, there's no reason to get excited. This land was only promised to you if you actually sold it and took care of the kids. You didn't, so it went to the kids. Lies. These are all lies. You lowlifes want to cheat me. I won't accept this. I want all the money and the land." "Well, why don't you just take a look at the inheritance papers? We saved them for you. I wanted to see your face when you finally found out about the hidden clause. Here, take a look." I took the papers from Hudson and showed them to Mum. She couldn't believe what was written in it. I also very graciously showed her exactly where the hidden clause was. Mum started to wail and cry out loud. She was throwing a tantrum in front of us. However, even the will didn't stop her from making threats. She kept saying that she would sue us. We simply left her there and went home. I later instructed security to drag her out. A few days passed, and both Keith and I received legal notices from a lawyer Mum hired. They wanted to meet up and talk about the issue. So, we met up at one of the empty spaces in the office building. It was like rubbing salt in the wound. Right on this land, Mum would find out just how stupid she was. When her lawyer read the will, he looked at Mum and straight away told her that there would be no case. He reprimanded Mum for wasting his time and walked out. Mum sat there looking lost and defeated. She said, "So you two were telling the truth? I had no idea about the hidden clause." "That's because you left as soon as the attorney read out your name for the land. If you had stayed longer, things would have been clearer for you." I am sorry for leaving you two. I wanted a complete family, and, dating with kids is hard. So I left. You did us a favor. We were much happier in our uncle's care. You couldn't have matched up to him. All you did was neglect us. I'm sorry. I will make it right. Please give me a chance. I cannot go back. Help me and send me money for plane tickets. They froze my account. What little money I had was spent on the lawyer. You made your bed, and now it's time to sleep in it. We won't help you. You are no one to us. We don't care if your new family doesn't want you back. We are not going to help. That's final. Don't think of contacting us again. Saying that, we just left. Neither I nor Keith felt terrible for her. She simply didn't deserve our sympathy. We walked away and decided not to look back. A few days passed, and we went back to our own homes. We heard from Hudson that she had shown up at his house begging for help. She also begged to meet us and make it right. Right then, Hudson informed her that we went back to our own homes and wouldn't be indulging her delusions anymore. He also promised to tell her to leave before he called the police. I later heard from some of Mum's old friends that she even asked them for help. Apparently, her new children wanted nothing to do with her since their dad had decided to divorce her. They knew she would have no money. Mum was begging for some help so that she could fly back home. They blocked her and moved on as well. Hudson, being the sweet person he is, did ask us if he should send her money for the flight. We told him not to bother, and she absolutely deserved this treatment. It's been a few months since everything went down. We haven't heard from our mum in a while. For the longest time, she tried to contact us from multiple numbers and begged for help. She said that she was back home somehow, but was homeless with a pending divorce. We never responded to her. Eventually, the texts and calls stopped. Now, we have both left her behind and are living our life surrounded by people who actually love us.
Hello, everyone. This is Heather on this side of the screen. I have a story of my own that I would like to share. You might have seen your fair share of monster mother-in-laws. Well, it turned out to be one of those. However, antics ended up being very, very useful for me. I will forever be grateful for having such a bad mother-in-law. You'll think that too once you know what happened to me. My husband Jamie was the love of my life. I am someone who can fall head over heels very fast. I grew up with little love from my parents, so I've always been a sucker for affection. When Jamie came into my life, it was like all my dreams came true. My best friend Nora was also very excited for me and had the best things to say. She said, "I'm so glad you found Jamie. He's such a great man. You make me jealous, you know? You found a good one." "I can't believe I found such a good guy, Nora. He's the absolute best. He treats me with so much love and respect. This is all I have ever wanted." "I know that, Heather. I guess you finally have your life like you have imagined. I hope I can find a man like Jamie, too. Anyway, hold that man tight because there will be rivals." Nora was my best friend for 10 years. She was that one person I could always rely on. Some people didn't like her as much, but for me, she was a saint. Yes, I was naive, maybe I still am, but I really did treasure that friendship. She was my maid of honor at my wedding with Jamie. I had no idea how much she would become a problem for me. After my marriage, it became apparent to me that my mother-in-law Isabel was going to be a problem. Before my wedding, she was good to me. I guess the fangs really do come out after marriage. This woman was a nightmare. Isabel was always criticizing me and complaining about my life. She said, "You're such a lazy and worthless wife. Just because you are married doesn't mean you can slack off your wifely duties." "What are you even talking about, Isabel? What am I doing wrong?" "Well, you are doing everything wrong. You come home from work too soon." "Aki, who knows what you're up to all this time?" "Jamie has complained to me that you make him do chores. You need to stop being such a bad wife and take care of the house and your husband." "Isabel, I have less work pressure than Jamie. That's why I come home faster. I'm doing most of the work around the house, too. Jamie does very little since he has less free time. These are lies. You must be a master manipulator, Heather. I have never liked you as much." "I can see I was right. If you continue this, I will have to talk to Jamie about divorce. Jamie earns more than you, but still, you make him a slave for you. You come home fast, but do very little around the house. You must be having an inappropriate relationship and hiding it from Jamie. There is no other reason why you are coming home early but still not getting everything done." I was appalled by Isabel's behavior. Jamie and Isabel were close because his father wasn't in the picture anymore. They talked regularly on the phone, and Jamie went to visit her often. Isabel didn't work because she had a hefty divorce settlement from her ex-husband, so she had plenty of time to poke her nose in our business. I did try to talk to Jamie about the situation. I said, "Jamie, your mother is starting to become a nightmare. She started accusing me of having an affair. She's also saying that I'm not doing enough around the house. I've no idea why she thinks I'm slacking off and doing something fishy." "She said that you told her these things." "This is ridiculous, Heather. You have been complaining about my mom too much. She's just looking out for me. You've become very irritating. My mom is right about the house chores, too. I was going insane with all the accusations. Nora also wasn't of help at all. I felt very alone and miserable. It was like I felt guilty of something I didn't even do. I was actually considering doing something drastic. But before that, I found something I had never imagined. One day when I was cleaning the house, I found a spy camera in my bedroom. I was immediately scared and took it off. It operated on batteries and had a memory card attached to it. I decided to put the card on my laptop and see who did it. Well, it was Isabel. The security camera caught her trying to set it up. I guess she really thought she did a good job hiding it. I was absolutely enraged to see what she was doing. I played the full recording because I was curious to see what was in it. Guess what, guys? I found out that my freaking husband was cheating on me. Any guesses on who the mistress is? It's my best friend Nora. No wonder she defended Jaime so much. When I complained to her she was sleeping with my husband the entire time, I was pissed and heartbroken. This mother-in-law problem was already plaguing my life. I was getting tired of Jamie's unsupportive behavior. What I found in the security cameras was the last nail in the coffin. I was freaking done with Jamie, and I was also done with Nora. When I found the footage, I immediately called Isabel to my house. I also told Jamie to come over as soon as possible. Once they both were at the house, I said, "So, is there something that you two need to tell me?" "I have no idea what you are talking about." "You might have something to tell us. You are the one who spends too much time at work and neglects my poor son." "I don't know what you're talking about, Heather. Why did you make me miss work and call me at the house all of a sudden?" "You need to hurry up and tell me. I don't have all day to tolerate your stupidity." "Don't worry, Jamie. You won't have to tolerate my stupidity for long. As for you, Isabel, Do you want to tell us why you secretly put security cameras in my room? What? Well, what are you talking about? Have you lost your damn mind? I've done no such thing. Look at this, Jamie. I told you there is something wrong with your wife. She has gone crazy. I haven't gone mad, Isabel. In fact, I would have gone mad if it wasn't for you. I have to thank you for putting that security camera in my room. Isabel looked shocked, while Jamie started to look a little panicked. Those were the exact reactions that I expected from them. Isabel squirmed while Jamie looked at me with a worried expression on his face. Showtime had already begun. It was time for me to drop the bombshells one by one. He said, "Mom, what is Heather talking about? Did you put security cameras in our room?" See, I swear, Jamie, I don't know what she's talking about. Your wife is out to get me. She knows I wanted to find dirt on her so that you leave her for good. She is lying about me to make me look bad. I have absolutely no reason to make you look bad, Isabel. What you have done is truly a great thing. It saved me from years of betrayal. And by the way, there's no use lying. The camera recorded you trying to install it. I guess you forgot that anyone can access the footage through the memory card. Isabel knew that her game was up. It hadn't crossed her mind that the camera may have recorded her while she set it up. As soon as she realized it, she started some damage control, but she had no idea of the true extent of what she had done. Jamie could see it coming. I could tell by his face. Jamie, listen to me. Yes, I did put the camera into your bedroom. Trust me, I didn't have bad intentions. I just wanted to make sure Heather is not doing something shameful with all her spare time. She could easily have an affair with someone else. I wanted to protect you by finding the truth. Mom, what have you done? You have no idea, have you? Oh my God, Mom. Now, my dear mother-in-law, why are you being so remorseful? You've done the right thing, you know. You did catch someone having an affair, but it wasn't me. What do you even mean? My son can never have an affair. Don't try to paint him in a bad light. I won't believe it. He did have an affair, Isabel, he did. It was with my best friend, Nora. I guess you don't know your son that well. I really do have to thank you. If you hadn't set up the cameras, I wouldn't have found out so soon. Jamie, is this true? Tell me you didn't cheat. This is not what I taught you. You know our family hates cheaters. Tell me Heather is lying. When Jamie stayed quiet, Isabel had her answer. There was one thing you must know about Isabel. She hates cheaters, and so does her family. She got cheated on by Jamie's father. That is exactly why she's so paranoid about cheating. Finding out that her son is a cheater was a big blow to her ego. She wouldn't have suspected him in her life. So I did the right thing and showed both of them the full footage of what the security camera had caught. Jamie saw that Isabel had set up the cameras, and Isabel saw that her son was a lying and cheating scumbag. It was a complete win for me. For a moment my heartbreak seemed to be a little less painful, they said. I'm so sorry, Mum. Ever believe me, it was just a one-time thing. It was a mistake. I can promise you I'll never do it again. Please forgive me. I know for a fact that the affair lasted longer than that. Don't worry. I will confront Nora as well. I'll deal with her once I'm done with you. By the way, you can expect divorce papers in a week. I have already filed. No, Heather, please listen to me. We are good together. Don't destroy what we have. We can go to counseling and everything. I'm willing to do anything. No matter what you do, Jamie, you cannot undo the affair. You betrayed me in the worst way possible. Yes, Nora is also to blame, but that doesn't make you any less of a villain. You both deserve to burn in hell. But I won't be there to see it. The divorce is my final decision. As for you, Isabel, A police report is in the making. You will face consequences for trying to spy on me. Mom, this is all your fault. You shouldn't have violated our privacy. What have you done is absolutely vile. You are the one responsible for destroying my marriage. Don't you dare blame me, Jamie. It was you who decided to cheat on Heather. I broke the law to save you from heartbreak. How would I know that my son is a piece of crap? I might get arrested because I was trying to help you. Jamie and Isabel immediately started the blame game when the truth was revealed. They had no remorse for what they had done. I left them to fight between themselves while I had more important work to do. Nora was my next target. I went to my room to confront her. I called her and said, "Hey, Nora, thanks for sleeping with my husband. I found out today. I hope Peter had a very good time. Thanks for showing me what a scummy husband and best friend is." "Heather, what are you even talking about? You've gone mad. You're making false accusations because I didn't support your stupid delusions." "Is that right, Nora? So you're going to deny everything and blame me just like you did when I told you about my problems? Great. Then let's do it the hard way." I cut the call and sent Nora the video I had of them. Nora immediately panicked and started to call me, but I didn't receive her calls. Instead, I chose to have a conversation through texts. I needed proof for other purposes. Nora said, "Heather, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. It just happened out of the blue. Please believe me, I would never hurt you. If you didn't want to hurt me, you wouldn't have slept with my husband. How long has it been going on for, Heather? I don't want any more lies. I already know the truth from Jamie." "It has been 1 year. Jamie started to come to me after your fights. I took his side once, so he trusted me. We ended up sleeping together after a few days. I swear it's nothing serious. It was a mistake." "So you've been filling Jamie's ears with lies about me and being an unsupported friend to me? Good to know, Nora. I guess you really like this guy since you were so quick to destroy our friendship. We have been best friends for 10 years. However, don't destroy this for a man. He's not worth it. We can move past this. Our friendship is strong." "Correction, Nora. Our friendship was strong till you decided to sleep with my husband. Thanks for the amazing betrayal, Nora. Now I know what a shit friend you are. Don't ever contact me again. You can go have my man. I'm going to divorce him and be ready for a lawsuit. I'll be filing for divorce and suing you for alienation of affection. Good luck. Enjoy your karma," I said, and blocked her on all platforms. I also sent her screenshots of our text to our mutual friends. Everyone was disgusted with her behavior. They rallied around me and promised to support me no matter what. I guess I finally found out who my real friends are. After everything was over, I had a good cry, letting all my frustrations out. Jamie banged on my door and begged to talk to me. I ignored him and carried on with my pity party alone. The next day, I went straight to the police. I reported Isabel for violating my privacy and filed a case against Nora as promised. My lawyer was ready since I had contacted him that night. Jamie tried to talk to me, even barricaded me in my home, but I threatened him with more legal action if he tried to harass me. That scared him off, I guess. I stayed at the house since there was also half mine. Jamie also stayed there because who else would take him in? His friends knew what he had done. I told everyone. They didn't support him. Isabel was too angry at him to help him out either. As for Nora, she had broken things off with him. I guess she really didn't want me to break our friendship. Our friends told me that she was desperate to make me forgive her and take down the lawsuit. Months passed, and my divorce progressed as it should have. I was still no contact with Nora, and Jamie had moved to an apartment. Since Jamie owed me more than me, he was forced to give me alimony. Also, all the lawyer fees and hassle left him very little money. He was unable to buy my share of the house. Ultimately, we decided to sell it. I had no intention of staying there anyway. I got a fat check from that sale. Jamie tried his best to stop the divorce. He told me that he loved me and Nora was nothing to him. It was a little too late for his sob stories. Our divorce was finalized 7 months after the incidents. Jamie moved away to a different city because all his friends and colleagues were isolating him. My lawsuit against Isabel and Nora also was a huge success for me. I got 2 additional checks from those. The full amount with the house sale was enough to help me buy a house outright. Isabel's bank account took a huge hit from the lawsuit. I took her offer because it was more profitable for me than sending her to jail. As for Nora, she had to pay me money as the judge ordered it. She had to empty her savings and give me the amount. Nora has also been boycotted by everyone. She couldn't leave the city because she had no money or good job prospects. I do see her from time to time because she's an employee of our local Walmart. It's nice to see people suffer because of their own actions. As for me, I'm having a great time living alone and enjoying my life until I am ready for relationships again.
My name is Aria, and I have come here with my story. To be honest, all the toxic mother-in-law stories I have heard have inspired me to share my personal experience. I never knew mother-in-laws could be so horrible. I lost my mom in my childhood, and my father also passed away before I met my husband, Daniel. They were amazing parents, so I never realized that mothers can be so cruel. I should have seen this coming. My mother-in-law, Bonnie, was a horrible mother. I have no idea why a part of me was hoping that she would change. I mean, the woman never liked me at all. She was downright mean towards me. Bonnie is one of those people who likes to take advantage of others. Daniel had told me several stories about how she would constantly take his money when he was a minor. Kelly, his sister, also had the same fate. When I finally met Bonnie, I realized that she even expected me to cater to her needs. She said, "I have a certain lifestyle, Harriet. I hope you understand that I like to be pampered and spoiled whenever possible. As my future daughter-in-law, you should understand that." "I do understand that, Bonnie, but what I don't understand is why you're telling me this," I replied. "Well, as you know, Daniel takes care of all of my needs. He spoils me with stuff all the time. When you get married to him, I would expect you to contribute as well," she said. That was a total shocker for me. Yes, she did get gifts from Daniel from time to time, but I knew for a fact that all of her gifts and luxurious purchases were conned out of him. Well before I met Bonnie, Daniel and Kelly did tell me about the practices of Bonnie. They said, "Since Daniel wants you to be a part of our family, I think there are a few things you should know about Mom. I don't know how to put this, but she does have a habit of conning us out of money. Seriously, she scams her children out of money." I asked incredulously. "Yeah, unfortunately, it's true. Do you remember how I was short on rent last month? Well, Mom took my credit card and bought herself a $1,000 purse," Kelly said. "I had no idea about this. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked. "Sorry, Aria. It was embarrassing for me. My mom acted like an immature child. I didn't know how to tell you the truth," Kelly responded. I was absolutely shocked at Bonnie's audacity. I still had no idea why she thought she was entitled to give herself a gift by scamming her son. Also, I had no idea why Daniel didn't confront her about this illegal activity. "Why didn't you confront her? She should have returned the purse and given you the money," I said to Daniel. I did confront her. As usual, she turned on the waterworks and started to emotionally blackmail me. Mom is like that, Aria. You know, it's easy for you to say that Daniel should stand up to her, but in the end, she is our mom. Plus, she can play the victim card very well, Daniel explained. Mom does tend to play the victim. She has raised us as a single mom for a long time. Mom likes to use that against us to get her way, Kelly added. But this is wrong, Daniel. Even if she did sacrifice for you, you guys are helping her enough. She shouldn't be doing this stuff, I said, frustrated. Even when I said it, I knew that there was nothing Daniel could do. Bonnie's excuse for scamming her kids was kind of sentimental, so even I felt bad for her. This is one of the main reasons why I didn't push the issue. At the end of the day, it was their money and their mom. I had no right to say anything else. Daniel and I eventually got married. There had been some more financial problems with Bonnie, but Daniel dealt with it himself. However, I had no idea how low Bonnie could stoop. It all started when Bonnie suddenly decided to live with Kelly. Initially, Kelly was reluctant to house her since she had just had her second child. However, Bonnie guilt-tripped her with her sob stories, saying that she felt lonely. Kelly felt guilty again and allowed her into her home. However, after a few months, Bonnie showed up at our door with her luggage. I said, "Hey Bonnie, what is the matter? I thought you were staying with Kelly." "Yes, but she has just had a second kid, and I don't want her to feel burdened. I thought since this is my son's place, I could stay here for a while. I will look for a place to rent soon. I won't be here for long," Bonnie replied. "You can stay here, Mom. It's not a big deal. We can just adjust for the time being. Aria, will you have a problem with that? I mean, I know I deserve to be here, but you might not be too happy about it. You might feel as if I'm taking too much from Daniel." "I don't have a problem, Bonnie. I understand why you want to give Kelly some space. She has had a hard pregnancy and needs some time alone with her new family. You can stay here until you get a new place." Honestly, I was a little concerned about Bonnie showing up at our place unannounced, but I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to disturb Kelly with questions when she was adjusting to her new life. I did put it on the back burner and eventually forgot about it. What did continue to bother me was that Bonnie never left. No, she kept staying with us for months with no intention of looking for a new place. We had no idea why she was doing this. What's worse was the fact that she demanded that Daniel and I fund her shopping sprees. When we refused, she tried to guilt-trip us as well. Suffice to say, I shut that down real quick. While we were still figuring out why Bonnie was making no move to leave, something else happened. A lot of money went missing from our house. It didn't happen at once. We used to find that around $100 to $200 went missing every week. Not only that, but some of my heirloom jewelry also went missing. I was devastated. I said, "I don't know where my jewelry went." They were super sentimental to me. My Nana gifted me those before she died. Hell, even one of my mom's rings is missing. I don't know what to do. "Don't worry, Aria. It'll show up somewhere. It can't just disappear from the house," Daniel said, trying to reassure me. I'm going mad thinking that I have misplaced them. I'll never forgive myself if they are lost forever, Daniel. Do you think we should inform the police? Don't be such a whiny woman, Aria. They are just jewelry. You still have plenty more. I knew a girl like you wouldn't be able to handle such precious pieces. This serves you right. Don't bother the police with such stupid stuff, Bonnie snapped. Bonnie's reaction raised a lot of alarm bells in my head immediately. I smelled something fishy. However, being the good girl I am, I dismissed those suspicions quickly. In my mind, Bonnie didn't deserve my suspicions just because she was mean to me. When the money still kept disappearing, Daniel and I grew concerned. We had plenty of fights about this issue as well. Mostly, we blamed each other for misplacing the money. Bonnie's laid-back attitude about being in our home was also getting on my nerves. She was living with us rent-free and gave us absolutely no money at all. Instead, she came home with bags of luxury products almost every month. It was so bizarre that even Daniel was getting tired of her. One day, we actually decided to talk to Bonnie. We said, "Mom, is everything all right? You said that you were going to find a rental apartment. Do you have any leads on that? It's been months since you moved in." "No, I haven't decided on one yet. It'll just take a few more days to find one. You know I have some financial problems and can't just find a place right away," Bonnie replied. "But you have been spending a lot of money on luxury goods every month. You have money to pay for those, but not for rent." "I find that odd. I mean, you don't even contribute to the household," I said. "Don't talk to me like that, Aria. You have no right to tell me how to spend my money. Why should I contribute to this house? I'm only here for a few days. Plus, I am Daniel's mother. I deserve to enjoy my son's house and everything in it." Bonnie snapped back. Having conversations with Bonnie took us nowhere. She apparently had enough to spend on unnecessary stuff, but didn't have rent money. We had no idea why she was doing this and intentionally extended her stay. Also, her comment about deserving everything in the house alarmed me. All these events made me suspect that Bonnie was stealing from us. I was afraid to talk to Daniel about this. I knew he would get mad and defensive. However, I gathered the courage to breach the subject. I sat him down in private and said, "I don't know how to say this, Daniel. I have a feeling Bonnie has been going through our stuff. She might even be the one stealing from us." "What are you saying, Harry? I don't believe this. You are dead wrong about all this. Think about it, Daniel. All this trouble with missing money and jewelry started after Bonnie moved in. We both leave for work every day, and she is the only one who stays here. Plus, it's easy for her to access our stuff since she stays here all alone all day. My mom would never do something like that. She may not be able to rent right now, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have money. Even if she didn't, she would never steal." "You're pretty confident about her, Daniel. I understand she is your mom, but you need to be practical about this. I'm telling you that I'm very suspicious about her right now. My suspicions were getting intense when more money kept disappearing throughout the months. I still had no idea where my jewelry went, so I decided to do something weird. I went out and got cameras for our rooms. I was desperately hoping to find answers to where my stuff was. I hoped it would give me an answer about why Bonnie was still staying with us and if she was behind this. Daniel knew about my decision and thought nothing of it. After a few days, money went missing again, so Daniel and I decided to check the footage. We froze when we saw the clips. Turns out Bonnie was stealing money from us when we were not looking. That explained all the strange money disappearances we had over the months. At first, we used to blame each other for misplacing the money, but now it was clear that Bonnie was stealing from us. Hell, she was the one who stole my heirloom jewelry. This is exactly why she never talked about leaving. I mean, who would leave a place that gives you free coins? After seeing the footage, Daniel was furious. He wanted to confront Bonnie right away and demand she give the money back. He said, "I had no idea Mom would steal from us. Sorry, Aria. I shouldn't have blamed you for the stolen money. I should have taken your suspicions into account when you told me about Mom. It's okay, Daniel. She is your mom. It's natural for you to feel for her. But she tricked us both. What she did is not okay. We let her stay here for free, and she repays us by stealing our stuff. I feel so bad, Aria. She even stole your jewelry. Just wait, I'll go and confront her. I will make her give everything back." "Daniel, we can't confront Bonnie. She will deny everything and just blackmail us. I highly doubt she'll return the money, plus she may have already sold my jewelry. Then what do we do, Aria? We can't just stay quiet. I don't want Mom to walk away without consequences. Don't worry, Daniel. Your mom will face consequences. I won't let her go easily. But first, there are two things we need to do. Rushing to confront Bonnie was not the best idea for us. I also knew that the best course of action would be to call the police. However, I wanted to talk to Kelly to make sure she wouldn't help Bonnie. From all my interactions with Kelly, I was almost sure that she wouldn't support Bonnie. Still, I thought that a family discussion was in order. So I called Kelly and told her that we would come over. When we showed up and told her everything, Kelly was shocked. She said, "Oh my God. Mom did this to you guys too. What the hell is wrong with her?" "What do you mean, Kelly?" "Mom has stolen from us before. When my husband and I let her stay here, she stole $7,000 from us. I did confront her about it, and she confessed. That's horrible. Why didn't you press charges against her, Kelly? That is a lot of money." "We didn't have proof, guys. She knew that and mocked me for trying to scare her. In the end, we had to let it go because she didn't leave any evidence." "But we do have evidence, Kelly. We saw the CCTV camera footage. She's the one who has been stealing from us. I can't believe she dared to touch our money and Aria's jewelry. She has been crying for weeks and blaming herself." "Really? You guys have proof. That is actually amazing. I bet Mom never saw that coming. Are you guys planning to go to the cops?" "Daniel is right, Kelly. We do have proof, and I'm going to sue her and call the police. She has crossed a major line and committed a crime. I don't think we should let her go. What do you say, Kelly?" "I am all on your side, Aria. Hell, I would have pressed charges myself if I had proof. Even if I couldn't do anything, I'm glad you can. Don't let her get off easy, and don't worry. I won't come to rescue her when she needs bail money." With that confirmation in hand, Daniel and I went home. On our way home, we called the police and told them everything. We even saved all the evidence that we had so far. What's even better was the fact that I was watching her live through the cameras. Yes, this witch stole money again while we were coming back from Kelly's place. She stole the whole thing from my car. When Daniel and I reached home, Bonnie was already in the kitchen, pretending to be concerned about dinner. I knew that she had no intention of helping. She was just pretending to help. We calmly went into the kitchen and told her that we needed to talk. She looked confused and asked us what was wrong. We said, "Bonnie, we know that you've been stealing from us. We want to know why, and we want all our money plus jewelry back." "What are you talking about? I have no idea about your money or anything. There must be a misunderstanding." "Quit the act, Bonnie. There is no use for that right now. Just answer my question. We are really upset. I need answers right now. Don't deny it because we have proof you have been stealing from us." "Daniel, look at what your witch wife is saying. She's accusing your mother of stealing. I just cannot believe her audacity. I always knew Aria hated me, but I never thought she would stoop so low. Say something, Daniel. You can't let her insult me like that." "What do you want me to say, Mom? Aria's not lying. We have security cameras in the house. I saw you steal from us." That's when I pulled out my phone and showed her all the recordings we had. She took one look at them and turned pale. The sudden change in her expression was hilarious. I would have laughed if I wasn't pissed and concerned about my heirloom jewelry. Bonnie saw the tapes and started to stutter. She mumbled out excuses just as the police pulled up to the house. She looked panicked and said, "Daniel, just look at that. Your witch of a wife has called the police on me. Look, I know I messed up, but you can't let me get arrested. Your wife planned all this to make me look bad and kick me out." You have some nerve-blaming area after what you have done. You are a pathetic mom. Nothing Aria did can justify your thieving actions. To even try to pull that is outrageous. We have been more than generous with you, Bonnie. We let you live here rent-free and didn't even charge you utilities. You stayed here for 4 months and repaid our kindness by stealing our money. You knew how sentimental and precious my jewelry was to me, yet you stole them and sold them to God knows where. Bonnie started to cry very loudly and begged us to forgive her. She again gave all sorts of excuses and even tried to be nice to me. It was disgusting, and I felt nothing but anger towards her. I let the police in and showed them the footage of Bonnie's stealing antics. They took verbal statements from me and Daniel and arrested Bonnie. That didn't stop Bonnie from trying to make a fuss about her arrest. Instead, she alternated between begging and crying to screaming and yelling at us. Things calmed down only after she was taken away by the cops. In the weeks that followed, we gave the police all the evidence we had. Since Bonnie was now a legal tenant, we also had to serve her an eviction notice. Bonnie stayed in jail because she had no money to get bail. Her bank account was frozen because she deposited all the stolen money into it. Kelly had promised not to help out Bonnie at all. Instead, she gave her own statement to the police about what happened at her house. Suffice to say, Bonnie was absolutely not happy. The case went to court, and she was found guilty. We still have another hearing where the judge will declare her punishment. The police also made her spill the name of the pawn shop where she sold my jewelry. She gave them the name as she was scared. We went to the shop with all the proof and the police. Thankfully, we were able to get back my jewelry, but it bore bad news for Bonnie. The pawn shop and my insurance company both sued her since she signed a declaration at the pawn shop saying that the jewelry was hers. Bonnie would be apprehended for that as well. It looks like Bonnie will face some jail time after all. As for me and Daniel, we're doing much better. I am expecting our first child, and I'm super happy. What makes me even happier is the fact that Daniel no longer wants to keep in touch with Bonnie. It gives me some relief to know that my kids won't be around a thief. Both Daniel and Kelly have informed Bonnie about the no-contact decision. Bonnie didn't react well, but has respected it so far. I guess she doesn't want more felony charges against her. So far, we are in a much better place and eagerly waiting for Bonnie to be jailed here.